got nowhere to run.
Gotham's gonna burn!
You need a new hobby.
Batman and gadgets go together like cops and donuts. Peanut butter and jelly. Mustard and tomatoes. What the hell am I saying? Maybe that's why the crime rate in Gotham is so terrible in the first place or something, eh? It's because I'm a vendor, that's why. It's a no-brainer that the no-killing rule is in effect, so you have to use something more than your hands to get the job done. The Arkham series always had a large category of items to use for combat or predator challenges. Today, I like to give my own tier list, which involves ranking the gadgets in the Arkham games from best to worst. As a full disclaimer, once again, this is my personal opinion, so don't take it the wrong way if a particular item is shuffled to your dismay. This is why the comment section exists. It is here for you to debate, dissent, agree, disagree, etc. This is the place for discourse, and honestly, this is a discourse written machine. So, you should know how things are operated with this little song and dance, right? I will rank these gadgets accordingly when explaining pure efficiency, rate of fire, damage, abilities regarding stealth, drawbacks, and other particular facts. Last but not least, I will refrain from placing anything related to visual scanning on this list. We know that the detective mode is an awesome piece of tech. We know this. This is just things regarding offensive and defensive gadgets only. Sorry, cryptographic sequencer, you're cool, you just didn't make the cut. Coming in at S tier is the shock gloves from Batman Arkham Origins. After gaining a particular multiplier, Batman can charge up his gloves and do more damage to the adjacent opponent. Then, once the meter is full, you are able to shock and awe criminals with instant beatdowns. This shit is 100% borderline broken. It can punch through shields, electric stick wielders, and anything that opposes Batman can be stunned like bigger guards. This gadget is so nasty that Arkham vets feel dirty for using it in the first place. This is almost like an instant I win, you lose gadget. Even bosses can get worked over by using these bad boys. My lord, I love this weapon so much. So cheap, so broken, but that's why it's S tier. Coming in at S tier for the number 2 spot is the Batmobile from Arkham Knight. Now this car is a car-like tank that is capable of knocking down everything in its way. It could use a barrage of immobilizing missiles. It could dodge incoming attacks. It can even shoot Batman into the air for takedowns, and it can electrify anyone standing near it at high speed. Even if this armored monster takes up half the game, you'll feel right at home. There's also a Nimbus Cell upgrade that makes the Batmobile even faster as a late game addition. I don't think it's considered cheating to say that this was a gadget with a number of capabilities that can strategize your combat tools forever. S rank tier for sure. The Ultra Bat Claw is one of the finest tools in the game for Predator missions and combat. The idea of this gadget involves situational awareness because Batman can pull multiple enemies in his direction to maintain his combo. The reason why this weapon remains completely stupid is obvious. The upgraded pulley system can yank numerous enemies off a ledge when sneaking around. This means that many Arkham goons can be easily knocked out with adjacent guards being none the wiser. Anything that can take out enemies this smoothly is way too overpowered for words. Next we got the A tier, which is the wreck, or the remote electric charge. Batman uses some type of electromagnetic gun to charge electric currents or shock enemies. This thing is a powerhouse when you try to fry multiple people in combat with some of the linked electricity. Once an enemy is hit with this projectile, they will remain immobile for a brief period in time. This gun falls into the A rank category because the rate of fire works against it compared to something like the ice grenades. It's a nice tipping scale. It tips a little bit into the S rank, so I would say this weapon shouldn't be slept on. Even in stealth sections, people can still be zapped with it if they stand near an electrical power box. For B tier, we have the smoke pellet. The smoke pellet is something that Batman can throw and run away to do a quick stealth takedown in a cloud of gas. While the smoke tries to mask Batman's location, it isn't foolproof to gunfire. I've been tagged many times by random bullets while doing this. It is a nice escape method, but it just isn't better than any of the higher tier gadgets on this list. Next up is the Disruptor. The Disruptor uses a wave-based signal. It is able to disable most enemy items or guns. That means that if some thug places down some claymore mines, then you could turn them off at any given opportunity when sneaking around. Now, there is some drawbacks to this weapon, like the ability to not be able to quickfire it during combat encounters. There are probably some less than ideal situations as well involving hectic combat where you will not be using the Disruptor. A guard might retrieve another weapon from an item box, or they might sound the alarm if something is wrong, which means that you won't probably have enough time to think on your feet and disable them in time. At least the caveat here is that once the wave fries the equipment, then that weapon or item is permanently disabled, therefore the guard has to retrieve another one. The normal batarang is next. Batman throws a bat-shaped shuriken to knock people out or disable traps. It's your go-to weapon for keeping the combo up or solving puzzles. It's best for stunning or hitting someone far away. One of the many strengths from the batarang is that it can still KO people despite the low damage it makes. Otherwise, it's just a gadget for normalization. It doesn't really stun for too long, and it only KOs when you soften people up. This is a nice, handy B tier experience. Coming in at C tier is the voice synthesizer. It makes Batman sound just like the enemies for distractions. You might be able to get a takedown or two from it, however, characters will eventually notice that you're trying to screw with them. You're trying to be like their friend Mike, who just wants to fill his gullet full of pancakes in some decrepit area somewhere. Maybe some decrepit IHOP, I don't know. Stop being so slick, Pally. An example is given when the Arkham Knight clearly tells his cronies that Batman is using a mimic, so the gadget will be completely decommissioned during stealth encounters. Don't rely on this forever. This is why it's C tier. Next up is the normal bat claw. This pulls one enemy towards Batman's general direction. Plus, who could say they hate the signature Batman clothesline, huh? It is clear that the flaws exist. This gadget is only good if someone is mostly unarmed and in front of you, but I do think that the bat claw can take weapons out of people's hands, and you have to reel them in a second time if you want to do that signature Batman clothesline, brother. There are heavy drawbacks. You cannot use the normal bat claw on enemies that are armored. Forget about it using it on enemies with shields, and there are ninja women that constantly dodge out of the way of this gadget completely, so it is not ideal for every situation. Alright, next up is the Jack-in-the-Box that Harley Quinn uses, and it's like a planted bomb. I put it in C tier because, once again, it's very okay when it comes to combat. It acts like the original explosive gel in Batman Arkham City, where you put it on the ground and tons of enemies gather up and it explodes. But once again, like I said, the Arkham Knight version of the explosive gel can explode on impact, on contact. Therefore, it makes it better. Going back to this same regressive feeling with Harley Quinn is not all that fantastic once again. So this sits in C tier. However, I will say the Predator challenges, doing the Predator mode and having the enemy sort of get lured by the Jack-in-the-Box making noise and blowing them up, that is very vital to keeping enemies at bay with Harley Quinn. There is viability here, there is strategy in Predator challenges. In combat though, you want to get that combo going and then plant it on the ground and then maybe like get a large horde and detonate the button. However, at the same time, like I said, on contact weapons, it does the most viability, it's the best, and therefore I can't give this any further than a C. Next up is the sonic batarang. It's a special type of batarang where you'll be using it to generate sound or shock people in the area. It's not that bad, but it takes a while to get used to and recharge, which will test your patience. Some people will say that this is an extremely terrible weapon, but that couldn't be any further from the truth as far as Predator challenges went. I corralled many enemies in the area using this for takedowns from above, and it really worked just fine. The only thing I can agree with is the fact that the recharge time is extremely unbearable. Coming in at D rank, this is where things start to get a little trash, get a little spooky on the weapon viability department. And this is when we talk about the remote control batarang. This gadget is nothing spectacular when you really think about it. You go into a first person view once you throw it into the air, and they give you a variety of controls. You can even reverse the batarang to hit enemies in the head from far away. The reason why it's not so special is due to the fact that you'll mostly be using it for puzzle solving. Goons will get right back up after some time has passed. That time probably will equate to you exiting the batarang camera. Bosses can also shoot the remote control batarang out of midair, which makes it pretty much worthless to use against them. The snap flash is the prototypical miniature device that is plunged into the enemy's back and then stuns them for a brief period of time. It's not really a safe method because it's slow. I guess you only use this to vary up combos, but you're better off using Robin's shield instead, which works better in combat. The line launcher is okay, I guess. It shoots Batman from a horizontal direction when it's chained from one wall to the adjacent wall. You can clamber on the line to survey the area and kick a thug in your general direction. I just feel like you won't get much from it due to the limited nature that was given from the pulley system. After all, it only shoots in one direction to the other. Alright, last but not least is F tier. And F tier is basically bottom of the barrel. A lot of these gadgets are not that great, or they are not that viable for every situation. Now granted, like I said, everyone's list is different from mine. I'm just giving my personal experience. So F tier, number 1 is Joker. Everything he uses is trash. I don't like it. Let me explain. Whenever he puts those stupid goggles on and you see like this ugly puke green filter, it's bad. Like, it's worse than detective mode because not only do you have a puke filter, but you also have the fact that the sort of effects on the goggles, they warp and they twist, and it makes it hard to see at certain points. And I don't like when you have a gadget that obscures your vision. That's bad. That's terrible. That should not be condoned in 50 countries or states. I don't care, you know? Next up is when Joker uses a gun. Now the gun can be used to distract enemies and draw them into your location, but the gun can be used to distract enemies and draw them into your location. Are you getting it yet? Also, if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to be sandwiched by like 20 guards, and that's not good. You know what I mean? So the gun can have some positive and some negative to it, but you're using a pistol when you're meant to be quiet in a Predator challenge. That's why you're better off like swinging a piñata at a chainsaw. Next up is the Concussion detonator. Batman uses a miniature concussion grenade to stun the opponent. It's like Batman's own version of Snap Flash. The problem is that the enemies will swing wildly when this weapon comes into contact with them, and Batman doesn't push the enemies away like Robin does. It's like asking for your combo to be ruined in one random punch. Anything that messes up the free flow combat in the Batman Arkham games is an immediate curse. Red Hood has that flashbang mechanic that has like similar properties to the concussion grenade, and that could also mess up your free flow combo if you're standing directly near someone and they swing wildly like a goddamn chimpanzee. I will say the caveat for Red Hood, however, is the fact that yes, his guns feel like they are faster. You can stun enemies and do the gun combo repeatedly with them if you're aiming in their direction, and you could also do the zip kick, which it has a little bit of viability compared to Batman in Arkham Origins. This means that Red Hood has two great combinations with the flashbang that shouldn't be underestimated. Caltrops, and we're distinctively talking about the ones that are not in Arkham Knight. Catwoman throws a bundle of sharp metal objects on the ground and enemies will step on them. More often than not, this has ruined combos for me because the enemy is not on standing level anymore. You will only use them at Arkham Knight since they added consistent attacks on the ground. Even then, it's not really an ideal item. It's too much work to get people to step on them unless you group them together. It worked better as a move for Vigilante Bruce Wayne since he spreads the caltrops everywhere in Arkham Origins. At this point, the video is basically done. I just kind of forgot to add some things. I would call this maybe other rankings. Yeah, other rankings. So, explosive gel. Batman sprays some type of explosive gel and it blows up. This item got more useful in combat due to Arkham Knight, so the ranking on this varies. The quickfire explosion really kicks some ass in Arkham Knight, so if Arkham Knight is going to be factored into the ranking of the explosive gel, then I would say is B tier. Any other game? C tier. It can be a little convoluted to get this gadget explosive going when you have to wait for people to walk over it and detonate it. Next we have the glue grenade, or the freeze grenade. They called it glue grenade in the Arkham Origins game. They called it the freeze grenade in Batman Arkham Knight and Batman Arkham City. I remember my shit, people. I remember it wholeheartedly. Anyway, Batman takes a grenade and it will either freeze or glue enemies with some kind of adhesive. This is good for disabling anyone who happens to be near you. This weapon once again works better in Arkham Knight, so there's a giant freeze blast that happens. I would say that the freeze grenade is S tier in that game. It can freeze more enemies and it's very nice. I would say that it's A tier in any other games. Next we have Jason Todd's guns. Now I know I wouldn't technically label these orphan makers into gadgets, but this is what the game calls them. They would be a B rank if we're distinctively talking about combat challenges alone due to the high stun capabilities and the range. This is an F tier weapon if we talk about using it for Predator missions. Like I said, think about it. We're using an unsilenced gun, a big freaking gun, for stealth encounters. It's like pouring water on oil, for Christ's sakes. It doesn't mix. The second that you fire this thing, all the thugs will be coming after you and it will be a no bueno. You have to know what you're doing with these distraction makers, otherwise it's just an annoyance. It just causes problems. Damn, I would miss some. Like, I gotta quick fire these, so I would say the Escrima sticks, the ground and pound, the electricity, all that stuff is nice. Smacking someone in the head with it. There are more vital gadgets that you can quick fire, so I would say this is a borderline C+. The bolas, they're great for Catwoman. I would say that's a B because it's basically quick firing something equivalent to the batarang. It's similar to that, where you can knock someone out with it, you can stun someone with it. It's not a bad tool. I will say that's a B. Next up is Robin's shield. Robin's shield is really good for like knocking normal enemies in the air or knocking them away. It's very good for offensive properties. You can really like get some distance in there, knock that dude down, ground and pound and knock him out. I would say it doesn't work on like the shielded enemies, which makes sense, and it also doesn't work on the electric stick wielders. I will say this is also like borderline C+. The remote claw is awesome. So let's set up a scenario. Let's set up a hypothetical. Say I am on a perch with Batman, and therefore I attach something to a fire extinguisher with the remote claw. I attach to an explosive with the remote claw, and I see that unsuspecting thug, that unsuspecting victim dripping in fear. And then I decide to take the previous point attachment and decide to sling that item in the thug's direction without him knowing, without him having any basis for what's going on. Therefore, you either created a distraction or you created an explosive situation where the thug is knocked out and you can take advantage of the person on the ground. It is perfect for predator challenges. I am surprised that this gadget was only available in Batman Arkham Origins. It is great, but for the other challenges, which is combat, it is way too slow. You draw it like a gun. Before you know it, it's like 2 or 3 thugs getting like 5 or 6 punches on Batman. It doesn't have a quick firing option. Therefore, this gadget would be probably F tier if it's in combat challenges, and it probably is like A tier if it's in like the predator challenges where you sneak around. Next up is, what do we have here? What do we have here? Is that it? Is that it? Oh, there's one more like weapon that I did not label. That is the ballistic staff that Deathstroke uses. It's similar to Robin's staff in a sense, except you can use this staff to shoot people with darts. And I thought that was pretty like comical, like I'm Jumanji in the jungle Deathstroke and I'm going to put a dart right through you, and it's so intimidating and thrilling and entertaining. I really love it. That weapon shoots fast, knocks people out when they're softened up. It's brilliant. It's something that is good. Like that is a good weapon all around. I would say that's like maybe A tier or borderline B tier. Anyway, we are done with the video. My name is Renegade Operative. I am signing out. Tell me what you thought of ranking all the Batman gadgets in order, ranking all the other characters as well, because I factored in Red Hood, Harley Quinn, Joker, etc. Like, this is the ultimate ranking video for the Batman Arkham franchise. Hit that like button if you really appreciated it. It helps me out a lot. Tell me what are your rankings for some of the gadgets in the Batman Arkham series, and I will see you beautiful people next time. Subscribe if you like it. All my stuff is in the description below if you want to follow me on social media and get acquainted. Anyway, this is Renegade Operative signing out. Peace, take care, and once again, don't do any crimes in Gotham or you will be abducted, beaten, and destroyed by the Batman. See you later.